expect Casey to try to put a little something extra on the slider here.
Sun comes out from behind a cloud, and suddenly we have sunshine covering the infield. A 1-2 pitch to the plate. Swing and a miss! He struck him out! He struck him out! He struck him out! Aggies are going to the College World Series.
All right, howdy. Welcome back to the RedAss podcast. This is Rob fighting Texas Aggie class of 2014.
And this is Roy fighting Texas Aggie class of 2015, and we've got some stuff to talk about after what we will call a well above average weekend for Aggie sports.
No doubt about it. Just so we can go ahead and get it right out of the way, let's start right from the top with the biggest and most important one. Congratulations to Gary Blair and the women's basketball team for claiming the regular season SEC title.
That's right. First SEC title and first conference title, like regular season conference title since 2007. Yeah. So they are all but a lock for a 1 seed for the tournament. They would have to, they've got the double bye in the SEC tournament. They would have to lose like 116-3. Right. to not be a 1 seed at this point.
Yeah, I think recent AP poll came out, put them at number 2. So
yeah, the highest they have ever been ranked at number 2.
And
so
pardon my ignorance, I did not look who is number 1.
I don't even care.
Well, I do. I want to know who it is.
Yeah, I don't care who's number 1. We're number 2, and so we were able to climb up to that. You're not going to see any other ranking changes between now and post. Conference tournaments, but there's still seeding questions involved. But I think for us, the seeding, there really is no question.
No.
I did not get to go to the game, but I was able to get my hands on a bunch of youth tickets, and so I sent my daughter and a bunch of her friends, so they were able to go to the game.
Well, that's awesome.
And I watched it at the house. It was a phenomenal game. You had 4 of your 5 starters in double digits. Obviously, India Jones is just unreal. She's a double machine. Mm-hmm. I thought you got some really important bench minutes in this game.
Yeah.
Being able to, when Sierra Johnson got into foul trouble, you were able to spell her and put her on the bench and not lose a lot. So it was a fun game. You wish they would have been able to close it out, with that kind of double digit when they got up, they were up around 15, 16 points. You would have loved to see them be able to kind of ride that. But you also knew that South Carolina they were the number 5 team in the country. So South Carolina wasn't about to lay down and take an ass beating on the road.
Of course not. And they've been such a dominant program in the conference for the last several years.
Yeah, for years. Yeah, absolutely. So
it was going to be a dogfight. We all knew it. And, congratulations to the ladies. The one team that is ahead of us is UConn. A&M, and A&M has 2 first-place votes.
Right. And going into that game, I believe we had 8 top 25 wins. So that would have been number 9.
Oh, yeah.
There's nobody in the country that has that. Personally, I'll say that UConn being above us, I haven't watched a lot of UConn basketball. I don't watch UConn basketball, men or women.
They're good. It's probably just more than anything. It's probably just name recognition.
Well, there's a little bit of that, but I'm sure. But still, I'm sure their body of work, certainly substantiates their number 1 ranking. But I don't think the gap is as far as only having 2 first place votes. I think if you watched the game, you saw that. And we talked about this too. That this year really is a team.
Right.
While India Jones is, like we said, a double machine. She's impressive, and if you watched it, heard the broadcast, or even listened to Gary, what's impressive about her is, she's able to score so many points, and they don't call any plays for her.
Yeah.
She scores off a hustle. She's been able to expand her game, from outside to in, driving the lane, and then rebounding is hustling. That's all rebounding is, because I get that rebounding is gaining position, but that requires hustle.
It does.
So I was interested, though, when I looked at the final stats. I was surprised. I was kind of surprised at some of the stat lines because we were out rebounded, which I thought, watching the flow of the game, not in a million years would I thought we were out rebounded.
You would have guessed.
But yeah, it was 44-40, so it was a real slim margin. But really, they across the board, they had a couple more assists, they had a couple more blocks, they had 1 more steal. They did have 1 more turnover. And where you saw a big one was fouls. They had 5 more, but at the end of the game, they were forced into fouling. So,
right,
everything was real level. These are two of the best basketball programs in the nation. But South Carolina couldn't make a layup.
Right. That's always tough to do. If you can't score right underneath, what are you doing?
If you can't get the easy ones, it makes the hard ones even harder. So if you're not excited about about what Aggie women's basketball is doing, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe go over to Last Shot Espresso and get some coffee and get your heart rate going or something.
I'll say it was pretty exciting. This kind of takes me honestly back to my freshman year in college. So because that spring was 2011. So when the ladies lost to Baylor, what was it, 2 or 3 times in the regular season?
I believe it was twice.
Oh, I think it was 3 times because they lost to them in the tournament.
I thought they scratched one of those, but regardless, they got into the tournament that counts.
Right. They beat. It's like they had lost every matchup until they played them in the NCAA tournament, and then they destroyed them.
Yeah, the one that mattered. And if you're looking to watch any SEC tournament play, we've got the double bye, obviously, because we're the first seed. The top 4 seeds get the double byes.
Right.
But we are playing on Friday morning, so it's actually going to be 10 a.m. on the SEC network on Friday morning. But if you're around the office and you got a slow Friday, you can tune in if you stream it or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And that'll obviously go to Saturday, Sunday. So again, though, what a team effort! Just grit and when they got up so big and all of a sudden South Carolina was able to start scratching bag, you were able to see the team kind of galvanize and find a way to get it done and to hold on. And honestly, to an extent, against a team as good as South Carolina, holding on for a win is just fine.
Oh, no doubt. And I have no complaints. I thought it was a great weekend of basketball for them. And honestly, great crowd turnout from everything I saw.
Yeah, it got sold out.
Yeah.
Bjork put the general admission stuff got sold out. Well, and what was interesting, and they were talking about the seeding for the 1 seeds because South Carolina has legitimate stake to maybe be a 1 seed.
Sure.
And they had said, as long as this game isn't a blowout either way, you can see them both being 1 seeds. And then all of a sudden in the third quarter, things started getting out of hand.
A little bit.
So I think you also have to understand that South Carolina, not only being an incredibly good basketball team, but they also understand the circumstances, outside of just that game. Mm-hmm. And so, their ability to crawl back in and make it a real tight game. And for a little bit, it was literally back and forth on the scores. And it was, for all you poor battered Aggies out there, you were like, here we go again. Right. But this team, honestly, seeing that going back and forth, I had full faith that they were going to close it out. I really did.
Yeah, me too.
So super proud of them. I can't wait till Friday. I'm clearing my Friday schedule. I'll be at drill because I have a Friday, Saturday, Sunday drill. Yikes. But I have a desk job at drill, and I can stream stuff. So yeah. So assuming we're not playing any kind of stupid Army games at 10 a.m. on Friday, I'll be watching the game.
All right. Well, I did want to jump in on softball real quick.
Oh yeah, they won, swept the weekend.
Yep, swept the weekend over Tulsa. Final scores on those were 9-5, 9-6, and 3-0.
Yeah, and I don't know where Tulsa stands in the grand scheme of things, but that's one of those where you come out of the weekend. Any series you can sweep is great. Period. Oh, yeah. Doesn't matter who you're playing. So when you can get a series sweep under your belt, you feel good. I think this team is maybe finding themselves a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I think Haley Lee, I wouldn't want to pitch to her.
No.
If it counted against my stats, I wouldn't. Right. They're kind of it's funny because when we talked to Gray, when we talked about threats at the plate, this was just going to be a small ball kind of team and use speed because we're a little bit of a smaller squad. Mm-hmm. And it's funny to see the power numbers that are coming out of softball.
Oh, I know.
So softball is another one to keep an eye on, and obviously we're still in non-conference play. But they've got so this coming weekend, I believe, is the Reveille Invitational. It's their last kind of round robin thing.
I believe so.
So they've got one more weekend. I'm not sure who's coming in on that. The 12th Man app still has last year's schedule on it, so that doesn't help me much.
Right now we got a Wednesday matchup against Sam Houston at Sam in Huntsville.
Right, they are traveling.
And then we're going to turn around in our little tournament, which is pretty extensive.
I know. Tennessee's in town, right?
They are. So we're going to have Lamar, a couple of matchups against Campbell, one matchup against Tennessee, and another matchup against Lamar on Sunday. So
that should be a fun round robin. If the weather's nice, I'll tell you, absolutely get out to the softball diamond.
Yeah, like I said, and there'll be a couple of things going on in town, and we'll definitely jump in.
And you have 5 games to choose from.
I know, it's crazy. So I did want to jump in on this. So going into the track and field world for a minute.
Oh, that thing moved just unbelievable.
I mean, just broke another record for the 800 meter.
And she's not an 800 runner.
Yeah.
That's the first time she ran it competitively. Obviously, in college, she's a freshman, so she hadn't had a ton of opportunities.
She's scary, man.
No, she's a freshman. I mean, you're talking about, and obviously she has her whole career in front of her. But when you talk about track and field legends coming out of Texas A&M, there's not a lot to begin with. When my dad was here, he's class 66, so Randy Matson, kind of the all-world thrower.
Right.
But it's you don't want to get crazy about it, but at the same time, the amount of development that she has left is so exciting.
Right.
And so you're talking about somebody that can be running in the Olympics, representing Texas A&M.
Yeah.
So so that's one to keep an eye on. Well, and I believe the men closed out with the 800 title as well. That's how we closed out the meet. Arkansas won the men and women's indoors. Arkansas is another great, Arkansas, LSU, us are great SEC track overall programs.
Right.
So one thing I've noticed over the years following track is there are some schools in the SEC that are kind of they're good at parts of it, but putting together an entire meet's a little bit more difficult for them to be able to compete to win. But yeah, no, she's unbelievable. If you're not seeing if you're not there, you've got to find the replays online. It's I get winded just watching.
It's scary. It's so cool. And very, very proud of them and
Yeah.
proud of her for sure.
I mean, your question now is what other events can she run and break records in? And I don't even know if she knows that answer.
Yeah.
When you're 18, you're a freshman. When you're that fast, you've never really been challenged in high school.
Yeah.
Everywhere you went, you just smoked everybody.
Oh, no doubt.
So then, the question is, you put Pat Henry's development into this.
Right.
And obviously confidence that she already has. Mm. I mean, the sky's the limit kind of thing.
Right, no doubt.
So, yeah, you got to keep checking out track and field. If you're not making it out or if you don't, live local, you definitely got to keep an eye on track and field right now.
So we did have a very important discussion last week, kind of discussing a little bit with baseball and kind of not just expectations going forward, but how the team was going to find themselves an identity. And I think we did find ourselves a very interesting thing that I don't know what this team's going to look like.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't think we found an identity, but what we found was wins.
Yeah, no doubt. We'd love to kick it off. So after we did our broadcast.
Let's go back to the other midweek game. Let's start there.
So let's start with Tarleton. I was first and foremost first time I've ever been in the ballpark and got berated for heckling. That was the first time
I saw that on Twitter.
I couldn't believe it. Lady came up to me and was just like, "Can you please not do that? It's not fair to those poor people."
She said it's not fair?
It's not. I'm trying to remember exactly what she said.
Was she talking about the spectators or was she talking about the players?
Oh, she's talking about the players. Like, it's just not within. It's not an A&M core value to be like this. Like, she used the core values on us. And I'm just like...
If y'all could see the face that I'm making right now.
It's one of those deals.
I'm going to tell you right now, if you're going to start dropping Texas A&M University pillars on me, you better come with something a little bit more than don't heckle at a baseball game.
Hey, I'm committing some very selfless service, man.
But also look at you, and there's times in life that we learn lessons, and you just added a little extra notch on the patience.
Sure.
Stick. So you're, look at you keeping your temper. You're like, very well. That seems like a completely, somewhat, not even close, but we'll call it reasonable request.
Sure. At which point I then removed myself from said seat, which I did receive for free, so I'll take that. And I went out and sat in the outfield with the alley crew again, and that was a lot more fun.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that they didn't really have anything to say about you heckling out there.
Oh, never.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
They can't hardly hear us out there.
I'm like, I kind of get it because when you think about like Kyle Field,
sure,
or even Reed, so Kyle, the west side is we don't expect them to stand. We don't expect them to do a ton of yells.
No,
at Reed, the ends are behind the goals is where the students are. The sidelines are we don't expect them to do much. They'll sing the national anthem. They'll do a war hymn. They'll do the yells before the game.
Right, sure.
But the people that sit, especially lower bowl at Olson, and I get that they've had their tickets for a long time, and they're there to watch a baseball game.
And I'll be honest, I think a lot of it is
a baseball game.
You've seen a lot of folks in that lower bowl who have been moved out of their spots and spread across the stadium away from where they're used to being. They're used to being in 102 or 107, and all of a sudden they find themselves up in 202, 203, wherever. And they're not used to sitting up there first and foremost. And two, you plug in a guy who's a regular and nobody else around me was doing it. It just, you become a one-man standing kind of deal.
I mean, you stick out like a sore thumb. What's funny is at baseball, all the people in the 102s, the 106s, and,
Sure.
They love 202 and 203.
Sure.
It's just, keep the riffraff up there.
Yeah. It's like, we love what you do. Just do it up there.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate to have some people hook me up with seats sitting like behind the plate, like 10, 15 rows up. And, they'll get in on ball 5, but that's kind of about it.
And that's about it, And it's good.
And that's fine. And look, you pay for your seats, and everybody's got a right to enjoy the game. But like being against heckling just makes no sense.
I will say,
if you've been foul or profane, which again we aren't anyways to begin with.
Right. I will say at this point, I feel everybody enjoys the game in their own way. I think some people they go out to the ballpark and it's social hour. Some people like to go to the ballpark and literally it's watching the game, analyzing the game, sitting there and having your score sheet and you're able to check it down. And,
which I love. I love people that go keep score. I think that's a cool old thing that I'm glad to see still occurs.
And I do it a little, and I've done it a couple times. It was never something I really got into big time. But I will say, having been to the ballpark, I found my niche, and that is I have a voice that projects pretty well at a ballpark. I like to think that every once in a while I come up with something that's ever so slightly funny. So I think the idea that I can go out there and project and more or less encourage others to do the same, that's where I belong in the ballpark.
Yeah, and ballpark chatter is part of it, though. And that's one of those things where even, it doesn't matter who you are or where you sit. The ballpark chatter has always just kind of been part of it. And it's always funny. You'll sit somewhere, you'll kind of be looking in a section. There are people you don't expect to get a little chatter going, and they will. It's part of the it's part of the beauty that is a baseball game and the entire environment.
One of my favorite things that ever happens is, we like to say family game, right? We're going to keep most of the heckles PG. Every once in a while it leans towards PG-13, but we like to keep it pretty PG for the most part. I love it on a weekend when we're playing against, anybody. And all of a sudden you get all these kids from out of town. And the kids get in on the heckling. It's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, and you almost got to put up the left and right limits because they'll get so into it and they'll get so fired up that something pops out of their mouth and you're like, no, whoa.
Right.
Yeah. Whole sense of family environment.
Ironically, though, I will say, especially with the younger kids, they tend to not go that far. They will literally sit in and do what we do. Like one kid will be like, "Hey, coach, get in the box," and we're like, "Yeah, listen to the kid," stuff like that. But, it's just, I don't understand what encouraged her to come up and say that to me. I'm not going to say names, mainly because I don't know who she is, and I don't care.
Don't have a name.
It is what it is.
I can sit here and say, I guess I understand the sentiment.
No, I get it.
I get it. It's just like, it's baseball, man.
So there's a handful of us that are going to go sit up in 202 that bought seats together that are all hecklers.
Yeah, strength in numbers.
Strength in numbers. So we're going to try that on Tuesday, see how it works.
So let's get back to the schedule, and let's go back to the Wednesday game.
Tarleton, yes.
Okay, and what did we say? We're like, man, you really want to see them get a win, heading into this series. Hopefully give them a little momentum heading into the weekend that they're going on the road. And a win they got, momentum they didn't.
I would say, to their credit, they did find a way to win. But at one point, when you are down 5-1 to a system school, you have to sit back and ask yourself the question, when are we going to turn on the Jets?
Right. And so then you have all of Thursday to sit around and think, well, Baylor and Oklahoma, outside of the name, on their jersey, they're kind of middle of the pack baseball in the Big 12, and
sure.
I think, middle of the pack Big 12 baseball just isn't that great, but they're still decent teams.
Sure,
they're better than the Tarleton and Abilene Christians of the world.
Oh, sure. Same with the HBUs
and so,
whoever.
So now you've won, but you've eked one out against a system school, and you're thinking Baylor's going to clean our clock, and it's not going to be pretty at OU, and it's not going to be pretty at Auburn, and they showed up for that Baylor game.
They did.
It's like video game mode was switched on.
I will say with Baylor, it was an interesting thing because I did a little bit of research coming into this, and I understand going into this weekend, Baylor did kind of struggle at the gate. They lost 2 of 3 to Rio Grande Valley, which is not a team you should lose to.
Middle to lower third of the Big 12. It's blah baseball.
Right. So Baylor comes out, and really you saw pretty solid pitching across the board, and you saw the bats come to life. I mean, and to his credit, over the course of the weekend, I would like to tip my hat off to Will Frizzell for kind of putting the team on his back.
Well, he made like the tournament kind of infielder, like the all tournament team.
He was the first baseman.
He was first baseman. So you got in the Baylor game, and Baylor was sloppy. They had 4 errors.
Yes.
We had one, I guess, which was nice to see. Only one, because right now that's kind of, you're like, oh man, only one error, sweet. Right. What's interesting about that game is you have 12 runs on 13 hits, so incredibly efficient offense. Sure. Baylor 4 runs on 11 hits, so their inability to turn their hits into runs, and that's not just on Baylor. That's A&M keeping them from doing that. Mm-hmm. But an offensive explosion, you're 12-4, you're like, okay. Maybe all we had to do was drive a couple hours, and that flips the light on. And then the next day you get OU, and
I was present for that game.
Right, so you get OU, and then the hit lines are similar again. You have a couple of errors, but again you win, and you win by a touchdown. You win 8-1, and it was never really in doubt. These are first. It was 7 spot in the first inning.
Which was, I will say, right out the gate.
It's really easy to be a good pitcher when you got 7 runs on the board.
Right. Well, I'll say it was really kind of cool because, we were the home team. We ended up playing, they took care of themselves in the first half. In the bottom half of the inning, the poor pitcher comes out and throws 8 straight balls. So we're out here chanting ball 9.
Yeah, you're on ball 9, and that affects
kids. The whole ballpark is doing it.
Yeah, I saw the videos. It was loud.
It was very loud. I was impressed.
But you have another performance, incredibly efficient, 8 runs, 8 hits.
Yeah.
OU's only able to put 4 hits together.
Yeah.
And then you get the Auburn game, and we dropped the Auburn game, and that was. I want to talk a little bit about the Auburn game.
Sure.
Not a ton though, but this is one of those where Childress went out and I thought he was really good on the bump. I thought he was really good on the mound.
Yeah, no, he was. Unfortunately,
it was a bullpen thing.
Yeah.
In the Auburn game, that's all there was to it. He left. He only gave up 1 run. He had I think 4 or 5 strikeouts. Yeah. A couple of walks. It was a good pitching line.
No, Chile did fine. He just didn't have any run support.
Yeah, no run support, and then the bullpen just kind of fell apart. And just straight up, I don't care if it's 4 innings of relief, giving up 6 or 5. Well, we lose 6 to 1.
Runs. Well, 6 runs total.
Yeah, so giving up 5 from the bullpen, that's a collapse. And you're going to have days where your bullpen collapses. I'm not saying that the bullpen is crappy because they gave up 5 runs to Auburn, but that's just going to happen. Now, here's the one concerning thing. I think overall the weekend is a positive. You win. You won 2 out of 3 games. Your bats came alive. The Auburn game again. If your bullpen, if the bullpen comes in and does that, if your bats aren't going, it's over. But the only thing that was maybe a concern is looking at the last 17 innings. So inning 1 of the OU game, you put up a 7 spot, and then over the next 17 innings, you put up 2 runs.
Yeah.
So it's that dry spell that. I'm telling you, 17 straight innings, you put up 2 runs in SEC play, and you're going to lose both games.
Yeah, it's pretty clear as we've gone along that this team has shown the ability to be very hot and be very cold. Now, if we could just have lukewarm bats consistently, that would be great.
And maybe some of it is just each individual guy kind of finding himself at the plate.
Sure.
I don't know as far as the Auburn pitcher if he was their, I don't know anything about Auburn baseball, so I don't know if it was really their guy or if
I think he got pitcher of the week.
Yeah, so I don't know anything about him, but going into this week, you got 2 more midweek games. You got HBU and Incarnate Word.
Right.
So you hope to split those.
Ouch! Oh, come on now.
No, but
give a little confidence.
But coming off of a good weekend, you have to win both of these to continue the momentum that you gained. And even losing to Auburn, you won the tournament technically, right?
Right. We were tournament champs.
Technically tournament champs against 3 named teams.
Right.
That outside of Texas people would know the name.
Right.
You tell somebody Incarnate Word, and they're in Tennessee, and they'll be like, I'm sorry. But you've got to have both of these games midweek, and I understand that things are still trying to get figured out midweek with the pitching rotation, and I get that. but you got to find a way as a team to win both.
I have a feeling HBU is not going to be as much of the concern as Incarnate Word is. Incarnate Word's been one of those teams over the last several years that tends to give us a pretty good game.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why you got to see both of them, because then you beat one team that maybe is, as a program is down, but then you beat another team that is always scrappy and always a pain in the butt, and you're not always thrilled to see them on the schedule. And then going to the weekend, you got a bunch of Aggies, whole bunch of Aggies.
New Mexico State.
So, New Mexico State. So Rob will actually be sitting in the visitors section for this weekend.
Actually, I won't. You know where I'm going to be this weekend?
Not in town?
I'm going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh, nice. I'm going there this summer.
I need to get out of town. So, apologies in advance for all you fine folks that are looking for game updates. I will not be providing them. So I've got things to worry about.
Well, I bet you if they really want updates, they can find them somewhere.
They can find them somewhere.
You can always go on TexAgs. Richard Zane always does a running thread, batter by batter.
TexAgs, Ryan Perez is going to be doing Olsen 203 stuff, so check him out too.
But New Mexico State, again, another program I can't tell you a lot about. I would assume from distant memory that New Mexico State is never a terrible baseball program.
They are solid out of the WAC. They've been a program that over the last several years has always been that WAC tournament champ that makes it. And
they can win the tournament, they get a bid kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the previous year in 19 was like the first time they hadn't done it in a while. They made it to like the final and like they won regular season WAC easy, but then they lost in the tournament, and unfortunately that knocks you out if you're in the WAC.
Yeah.
So they came out. They had that kid Gonzalez last year that was top level prospect. Went on to MLB. He's gone, and really the rest of that lineup didn't do much. So that's probably what we're expecting.
Well, so then you look at HBU Incarnate Word in 3 games against New Mexico State. If you don't go 4-1.
Yeah.
It's a problem. And honestly, any combination of 4-1.
Sure.
Beat HBU, lose to Incarnate Word, sweep New Mexico State, I'm okay with that.
That's a solid weekend.
Yeah, it's a solid week, across
week.
the board. So you've got to have a series win this weekend. Absolutely. Going for a sweep on Sunday is always the best feeling. If you drop the game, you still win the series.
Right.
So that's kind of short term. I don't want to go further in the schedule because
that's fair.
Again, this team doesn't have an identity yet.
No, it's week to week.
And so it's hard to really project what you're feeling coming up in the next week. Yeah. But
was there any other sport things you wanted to touch on?
No, but just the one thing I wanted to kind of circle back around what we talked about was, that midweek game against Tarleton was important.
Right.
And for whatever reason, and honestly, winning in 10, I was not real optimistic going into the weekend. I don't know that anybody was other than the ultimate sunshine pumper, but which I have been accused of being. But I thought it was a good showing. I think there's concern about the scoring drought, and I think has to be a little bit of, not a ton of concern, but again, you need to put this, put a pin in this and remember it. That, and then you played Auburn, which is, we talked about, one of the teams kind of right around each other in the standings in the SEC West.
Right.
And we didn't go in and get our doors blown off again. Just the bullpen kind of came apart. Childress kept them in check. They got 1 run on the guy. So
taking the loss there is not the worst thing.
Not at all. And it's not a conference game.
No, and you kind of get an early look at a future opponent.
Right. So win or lose, it's good to be able to get that look and really just face to face get that look, not just be able to scout them over the weekend because they're playing in the same round robin.
Sure.
So there's a hell of a lot more positives to pull from the last 4 Aggie baseball games than there are negatives.
Yeah, no, especially after how we really kind of kicked the season off. We were sitting at a .250 winning percentage, and that's just not the way you want to start a season.
Yeah, no, it was, like we said, how do you lose a series to Xavier? How do you lose it? So again, I think the concern was legitimate. It wasn't jump ship concern, but it was, we need to see something, and we need to see it a lot sooner than later, because later conference comes.
Right, and now now we're sitting here at 500, and we're going to go plus 500 hopefully this week.
Yeah, well, and you have the opportunity really to,
build some momentum.
Yeah, build a ton of momentum, and again, you still have a couple weeks left of these midweek games and the non-conference slate stuff, so you got time to continue to iron stuff out.
Right.
But they have to take these opportunities to do it, and that's all I'm gonna say. Like, it's not a negative thing. They've got to ensure that they're using these opportunities to iron out and what they see too. Not just what we see, but what they're seeing game by game. That they feel that, okay, maybe continuity. Maybe it's the bat's going dead. We got to figure something out. The bullpen. Maybe the order we brought the bullpen out. Or are we going way too situational, like pitcher by pitcher? Or can we leave relievers in a little bit longer, which is something that we've always dealt with Rob. His hook is too early. His hook is too late. You're always going to be able to complain about it when a reliever does poorly. I don't want to see anything where it's obvious to someone that's watched one baseball game in their life and they're like, why is he still pitching? Like, as long as we don't get to that, or like, why would you pull him out? He struck out 3 guys in a row. And you're like, I don't have an answer to that.
No, I don't have a question to that. So
But again, that's not even just on Rob. Like, you see that in the major leagues.
Oh, they do it all the time.
They outthink themselves with these pitchers that are all great talent.
Oh, yeah.
So, again, I think this is a perfect week for Aggie baseball to find themselves. And on the other diamond, this is a perfect week for Aggie softball to continue that momentum coming off of that Tulsa series.
Yeah, they're looking good. So
both diamonds are looking up.
Yeah, there we go. Good stuff. I did want to jump in, so I went ahead and asked a question ahead of time, or asked folks to send us in some questions, and we did get some responses.
Okay, yeah. I pulled up my Twitter, I had a ton of notifications. Like, what the hell?
All right, so first one was Jonna, and I'll go ahead and ask it because it's directed towards you. So post-match thoughts for West Ham from Saturday's match, and what you're looking to see through the rest of the season.
Oh gosh. I'll be quick with this because nobody cares about this.
Sure, go.
So, in case you didn't know, West Ham played Manchester City, who's the top of the league, and they're running away from it. They're almost mathematically gone.
I know. I hate it.
But y'all did last year.
I know.
But Manchester City is phenomenal. If you're an Alex Caruso fan, you might know that he's a Man City fan or supporter. West Ham went out there, played. They gave up an early goal, world-class kind of cross from De Bruyne, and that's just going to happen.
Right.
I thought they played well. They got back into it. They leveled the score. And then Manchester City ended up winning 2-1 on just a defensive lapse. And that's one of those things where they're the best in the league. They might be the best. I mean, they're like the best in the world right now. They've won 20 straight matches over all competitions.
Sure.
Not just not just wins and draws, like wins. They're beating literally everyone.
Right.
And it was weird. It's how far West Ham has come that we're disappointed about losing to Man City. Mm-hmm. But a lot of positives to glean from it. Losing 2-1 to Man City is nothing to hang your head about.
No.
Breaching their defense is huge. So I think you got to like everything going forward as long as Fabianski can get back healthy because he got nicked up in pregame. So we had our backup goalie against Manchester City.
Sure.
So, but I'll stop talking about West Ham. I still think they finish at least Europa.
Yeah, like I said, they're sitting at number 4 right now. Granted, you still have Chelsea, Liverpool, and Everton all right on the tail, but
right. Well, as long as we can keep winning.
As long as you can keep winning, that's all you can ask.
If you're ahead of them, you keep winning. They can't catch you.
Exactly. Liverpool went ahead and took care of business against Sheffield. Thank goodness. Good Lord, they needed that.
Yeah, you don't want to lose to Sheffield.
No.
The Blades.
That would be less than
I do like their name though, Sheffield United. The Blades. That is pretty sweet. Because you have like the Magpies and the Canaries and shit like that in the Premier League.
All right, so Trenton Schoonmaker, that's T Schoonmaker 98 on Twitter, reached out and said, favorite artist that you've got to perform with or open for?
Oh, yeah, that's for you.
Yeah, so that is a really good question. I would say probably my favorite show I can think of as an opener was one of two. One was for Roger Krieger's dad, Bill Krieger's, his birthday bash.
That's awesome.
And that was in Luckenbach on July 5th. It was the day after 4th of July. Who would have guessed?
If anybody's keeping count.
Yeah, everyone's keeping count. So, but we went out to Luckenbach. It was a Saturday. We went out there. There was easily about 4,000 or 5,000 people there, including the hill and people walking past. This is pre-COVID, so we were just rocking and rolling.
You're normal.
But we went out there and we played, and everything was great. And once we finished off and Kevin Fowler took over, because Fowler was the second opener, Roger Krieger's sitting in the back grilling up fajitas and serving us. He was like, all right, you boys want beef or you want chicken? And so we went from there. So that was my...
Go from playing to having fajitas served to you by Roger Krieger.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun.
It's a pretty sweet memory.
Oh, it was a sweet memory. Probably the second coolest one.
Not second coolest. How about who's the coolest you played with?
Oh, I really don't.
Don't worry, Jordan already kicked you out of the band.
I think Jordan already kicked me out of the band.
After your Fuego take. So
yeah, so.
Have you had the opportunity to play a ton of shows with other people?
Not really.
Like big names or fill-ins or anything like that?
Not really up to this point. Mostly smaller local bands, as far as fill-ins are concerned.
Then let's do this. We got your favorite, like, who you got to open for?
Sure.
Or opening? And I think I know the answer to this. Although that story, I feel like it could challenge. What's your favorite venue that you've played so far?
Oh, God, favorite venue I've played so far. Well, man, that's a tough question, too. Because I've had a couple of really enjoyable venues. I mean, obviously, I love playing Hurricane Harry's because finally made that happen.
Yeah, I figured that had to be near the top of your list.
Well, I mean, it's the one place I've wanted to play up to this point, play Hurricane Harry's. I will say, any show I've played up in College Station, it's one of those, you just bring that extra energy because it's home. And you want to go hard in hometown shows. So every time I played the Tap has been awesome. When we finally played Harry's, it was great. It was one of those situations where the headliner, Pecos on the Rooftops, you open up the green room, and there's a reason why they called it the green room. There was just this waft of smoke. You get secondhand high walking into the room. But no, I mean, that was a lot of fun. Man, it's just... What was the one you were thinking I was going to bring up?
No, I figured you'd say Harry's.
Oh, yeah. No, Harry's...
I thought Harry's would be your, like, automatic.
So Harry's was, is definitely up there. No doubt about it.
Well, then here's a quick follow-up. We're just going to stay on the music thing for a second.
Sure.
You can only play one venue. You have one show left, and you have to retire. No more playing with anybody. I don't care who you play with. I don't care. Opening, headliner, doesn't matter. You can only play one more show. What's your venue?
Only one more show. I'm not one of these cliche guys that wants to do Green Hall, because Green Hall, honestly, it's there.
I mean, you can play the Sydney Opera House if you want to. I'm opening it up here.
Open it up. Wide open. Man, I'd love to play Wembley. Wembley. Because you're talking about just one of the greatest arenas for rock shows. I mean, there have been so many great shows that have gone there. If I could get in a rock crew and go play Wembley, sold out to 90-something thousand people in that building, you bet your ass I'd be there.
Assuming you could play all of it and keep up, and you got to play Wembley, what rock band would you want to play bass for?
Oh, man. If I had to give, honestly, just from a stylistic and the way I enjoy their music, if I had to pick a band to play with, it'd probably be Foo Fighters.
Okay, what band would you like to go on tour with, though?
Oh, just as far as, like, hang out with the guys?
Yes.
Oh, man. There's so many good bands to choose from.
See, the problem with that is you really have to, whatever your answer is, you have to say, so-and-so 20 years ago.
Well, you're right. No, you're right. Well, see, it's like, I would say Metallica, but I didn't want to, like, die of, alcoholism. I don't want to have to go down that road. I don't want to do the...
Well, I mean, they're still around. So
they're still around, somehow.
You get a GNR, you're going to get fat.
I'm about to say, you can't do GNR, man. Honestly,
buffets.
Man, you know what? If you gave me one band, probably Motley Crue.
Motley Crue? Back in their heyday?
Oh, my God. I mean, the stories surrounding that crew.
Yeah.
And if you have not seen The Dirt on Netflix, do yourself a favor and go watch The Dirt on Netflix. It is awesome. It just kind of a mockumentary, kind of following along.
Yeah, Crue's got to be up there.
Yeah, Crue's definitely.
As far as this,
what about yours? If you had to party with them,
the Crew would be up there. Metallica would be up there.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know, man. I feel like something along the lines of like Aerosmith.
Yeah, Steven Tyler.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool to hang out with Aerosmith. But at the same time, I think it'd be really cool and I know they're complete weirdos, but I think it would be just the most fascinating time of your life to go on tour with Slipknot.
Here's the thing. Funny you should mention that, because it's like Corey Taylor is apparently just super cool dude.
Super cool, super chill. Like in your off days, he's going to play at like the House of Blues. He just does like solo stuff. And, because he's just a musician. He's not just a screamer. The dude can sing. He can play instruments. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's either that or like the Beatles when they came to America.
Sure, right. You want all the screaming women.
I think Motley Crue's got to be. If Motley Crue's got to be the answer, man.
I'd say Motley Crue. I would say is probably the coolest band to party with. I would say kind of if I'm going off of like my crew, like if I just could have been with them at their peak, would have been Linkin Park.
Yeah, it would have been fun
because people were rocking those shows. So definitely, I would say that's up there.
Well, we're going to take a complete left turn because I've got it pulled up too. And the other question that we have left, so we're going from Motley Crue and Slipknot to if you had to decide who goes on the country music Mount Rushmore, who would you pick? So that's 4.
Yeah, I'm about to say,
That's
we're
4.
We're going to go with the rule. It's 4.
That's 4. All right, so George.
All right, Strait.
George Strait.
I'm about to say, because there's George Jones, George Strait.
Yeah, well, we might get to George Jones. But I think George Strait has to be there.
I would agree.
Willie.
Okay. I have a feeling ours are going to overlap a little bit.
Johnny Cash.
Okay.
Okay, maybe George Jones or Ray Price. Ray Price.
Ray Price is good. Well, so is George Jones.
I know. Well, I think George Strait is a no-brainer.
Yeah, well, you can't have that many number ones and not be.
Well, yeah, he segued country into mainstream.
No, he absolutely did.
You know.
Man, I'll tell you, if you had to give me my 4, Hank Williams.
Oh, gosh, yeah, Hank.
But see, it's got to be Hank Williams because, I mean, he
was like the father of country
he
music.
was the father. Like, yeah, you can't. It's like putting George Washington on there.
Yeah.
Like, he has.
All right, so Hank Williams. I don't know why I didn't think about that.
Yeah, but no, Hank Williams has to be on there. Willie Nelson for sure.
Yeah, the Willie and George Strait. I think those 3 are.
And George Strait for sure. And you know my other one, Merle Haggard.
Oh yeah.
See Merle, and it's like between Merle and Waylon Jennings and Hank Williams Jr. I mean, there's so many other great artists that could be in that 4th spot. But I've always enjoyed Merle Haggard. I have a hard time leaving him off. Now, I will say, if you could add a 5th, I will add one more. But here's the stipulation: has to be a woman artist.
Well, why don't we just do 4 females?
All right, let's do 4 females.
Patsy Cline, Dolly, Reba.
Okay.
And then somebody probably a little bit more segue like George. This is going to sound crazy, but I think Martina McBride has to be under consideration.
Sure. I mean, I feel Dolly Parton for sure. I like Reba.
See, Reba kind of did that, though. She kind of made the showmanship out of it. Now, her and Dolly, but I think Reba, well, because Reba's still, I think she's still touring.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. But, yeah, I would say Patsy Cline in my 4th. Loretta Lynn.
Oh, Loretta Lynn. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, Dolly, Reba, Patsy, and Loretta. Yeah.
And the thing is, like, it's really hard for me to consider anybody more recent than those for the list. I mean, I mean, you look at the 90s.
If you did an offshoot of country, it's more recent. Then you have Clint, you have Garth, you know.
Yeah, and see, Garth is in the weird nexus.
Well, if Garth had never done Chris Gaines, if he'd never done that stupid crap.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, Garth has to be there just because, again, you're talking about really segueing into putting country into mainstream.
Right. No.
Going from the twangy country into something that more people could embrace.
Oh yeah.
So Garth is there, Clint's there.
Sure. All right. Let me. Since we're on that same subject, we'll go ahead and throw in one more. Okay, Texas country. who are your 4 on Texas country? And that can be, I mean, just artists from Texas that do not include Willie or George.
I was gonna say, like, am
I
putting Willie on 2 monuments?
George and Willie are off the table.
All right, well then Clint Black, he's a Beaumont boy.
Right.
Clint, I've got to put Clint on there. I love Clint. I think he had such a fun, unique sound.
Sure.
I mean, Robert O'Keen's got to be on there if you're talking about Texas country.
Sure.
In which case, I mean, do you do Pat Green? Because he got so mainstream.
I would say, well, I mean, you get mainstream, but I mean, you got to be.
Pat Green's got to be one of the originals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got Robert O'Keen, Pat Green.
Sure.
Clint Black.
I know that 4th spot's kind of tough.
I don't know. Because at the same time, there's a lot of current Texas country that we love, but they haven't done enough within the scene to warrant, being on a Mount Rushmore.
No, surely not. But I mean, like if I had to look at mine, I would put Randy Rogers on there.
Oh yeah, Randy can be on there.
I put Randy Rogers on there because I think they're a big enough name, and they're established obviously at this point.
Yeah, Randy Rogers band.
But I'd say Randy Rogers band, Pat Green are two.
I think Robert O'Keefe's got to
I'd
be
say
on there.
Robert O'Keefe. It's like he's a little bit older than the rest of that crew,
Right.
but it's hard to leave him off. And I love Roger Krieger, but I'm not sure I'd put him on there.
I don't think I'd put Krieger on there because, like, if you put Robert O'Keefe on there, you're almost thinking you should also put Lyle Lovett on there.
Right, and all of a sudden it becomes an Aggie one, and we love our Aggies, but
this is our podcast. I don't give a shit. That one's a little tougher when you're talking about if you take out Clint Black, if you're talking about actual Texas country genre, then you free up a spot, because Clint Black would be on like that second Mount Rushmore for me.
Right, sure.
Clint Garth and probably Alan Jackson. I think Clay Walker is the world's most underrated country guy from the 90s. I loved Clay Walker.
Sure.
Texas boy.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, REK. Yeah, let's go to like actual Texas country, not just from Texas.
Texas country.
So Robert O'Keefe, Pat Green, Randy Rogers.
Yeah, those are the three for sure.
Man.
I mean, you got great options. You got Casey Donahue. You got Josh Abbott, Turnpike, Cross Canadian Ragweed, Whiskey Myers. But the thing is, with obviously Ragweed and Myers, I'd put them more towards Southern Rock anyway. So that kind of eliminates them. But man,
well, no, I know who it has to be. If you're really going like full blown the Mount Rushmore Texas country,
sure, you got
Jerry Jeff
Walker. Yeah,
I think that's how you close
it
out.
Yeah. That ended the discussion right
like
there.
If you talk about newer Texas country,
sure.
Man, you're talking about Turnpike is probably at the top of the list,
right?
Almost,
and they're Oklahoma, but red dirt, it's all the same.
Yeah, like red dirt country, yeah.
It's all the same.
So, all right. Yeah, we could probably sit around and talk music.
Oh my
forever.
God! Yeah,
I think this is the second or third podcast we've gone off on tangents.
But we can certainly get into more musical stuff in the future. I mean, I want to bring on musical guests at some point, but we can certainly jump into that. But baseball later on this week, more softball, SEC tournament for basketball before the big tournament, March Madness getting ready to kick off.
Yeah, I heard buzz on the radio. They're on Texas radio this morning. They're trying to gear up, and this will be the first practice in a month that they've had all their players at practice. So. What that equates to as far as even being able to play, and then on top of that having to play in the conference tourney. I don't know. Maybe we just go straight Cinderella.
Maybe. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed, but I'm not putting any money on it.
No, me neither. But
Although I may have to find a spot to lay some money down on the women to win the SEC.
Yeah, let them go.
Because I feel like they should have won that game by 20, and it was a combination of maybe losing a little bit of focus and South Carolina really turning it on.
Sure.
But it's an exciting 7 days, really.
Yeah.
By this time next week, we'll know, who's going where for basketball. Although it's all in a bubble this year, right? So you're not going to be able to host
I think
at
it's
home.
Indiana, I believe.
I thought the women were in San Antonio.
I think the women are in San Antonio, the men are in
Indianapolis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, San Antonio. I mean,
It'll be close.
Yeah, I mean, that adds to the A&M benefit.
Yeah, we can turn those into home games. There's a ton of Aggies in San Antonio.
No doubt.
And not like San Antonio is that far from Houston or Dallas.
No.
When we reconvene this little little powwow, we will have, I think, a little bit better, a little more clarification on Aggie baseball.
Sure.
At least of their identity.
Yeah.
I think we'll either see something emerge or start to emerge, or we'll realize that we still have no idea. I don't think we'll come out of 5 games and be like, okay, we found exactly what we're doing. I don't think we're going to get to that point. Aggie softball, it's going to be interesting to see how they get through Tennessee and Lamar. I think we'll have a really good feeling on, not just, again, the bigger sample of games, the more we're going to know.
Yeah.
And even if Aggie women's basketball doesn't win, the conference tourney title.
You got to think they're 1 seed.
Yeah, they're still a 1 seed. I mean, they're ranked 2 right now. And like I said, you're not going to see a lot of changes in rankings based off of conference tourneys, if any, really.
No, you really shouldn't.
So when I saw A&M baseball crept up in the top 50 on the rankings.
Woo!
Making
moves.
Yeah, well.
At least we're not out of it.
Yeah, right. So, just exciting stuff all around Aggieland. We enjoy y'all's questions, by the way, and we enjoy questions that don't involve sports, to be honest. We like to flex, flex our brain a little bit and try and put an extra wrinkle in it.
If you guys have, of course, any more questions, feel free to attach them here. And, of course, with the podcast, as we asked last week, Feel free to share it with your friends, family, whoever might be enjoying
Yeah,
what
share,
we got.
share, retweet.
Give us 5-star reviews on Apple.
Well, at this point, we've got, what are we, around 30 episodes in now? So,
Yeah,
I mean, if they like,
32,
so, I mean, if they like what we're doing, there's plenty they can go back and listen to, although a lot of it's going to be football related.
A lot of it's football related, and the audio quality was not as good as it is now, so apologies on that.
Well, it's, always get better, right?
Always get better. Sustains. Improves.
Yes. All the more improves, the better. So, yeah, I mean, that's all I've got. Kind of a crappy day outside in Aggieland, but...
a little wet.
Yeah, a little wet, but restaurant's kind of banging away, and despite the construction of that median,
so bad.
Yeah, you can still get across from George Bush from the university side. You can still turn across right there at the Shell to get in to eat. Tomorrow's Taco Tuesday. By the time you hear this, you might be listening during Taco Tuesday, but head on over to Good Bull. It's in the shopping center, right across from the football practice fields on George Bush, over there in the Texags Shopping Center.
Right.
And that's kind of all I got. For me, I've got a ton of irons in the fire right now, but nothing that I'm going to talk about until they at least get a little warm.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to be in Vegas over the weekend. Hopefully not losing money, but we all know how that's
Well, hope in one hand.
Exactly. So, guys, we really do appreciate you guys listening in. Tune in next week. Hopefully we'll have some more fun and exciting content.
Well, hopefully we'll have a lot more wins to talk about, too.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And like I said, we're much happier when we're a sunshine-pumping podcast and not a negative one.
Yeah, but I mean, I really excel at being miserable, so I'm okay.
That's okay. Yeah, we'll be fine. I mean,
we'll figure it out.
You decided to pull the West End. All right, you guys take care. Have a great one. Gig 'em.
Yeah, gig 'em.